Hi, and thanks for joining us for the next episode of the Reentry Podcast. Now from the Yard Content Studios in Hollywood, Florida. I'm Kyle Sandler, also known as federalprisontips.com. I've got two great people talking to me today about something that's very important to those of you that are reentering society from both state prison and federal prison, and that's life insurance. It's something that we don't think about too often because, we've gone through life and we've done something to go into prison. Now we're worried about jobs, we're worried about housing, but there are people that are worried about what happens next. Many people, when they're reentering society, they're reentering society on their own. They've lost or alienated a lot of friends, a lot of family members. They're doing it on their own. And as they start to re-put people in their lives and start getting new people that they care about and reuniting with their families and things like that, there might be an opportunity to start thinking about what happens next, what happens, to somebody as their life goes on. Personally, because I am so transparent, everybody knows that I'm in stage 5 CKD. I'm in almost complete kidney failure. I'm having a kidney transplant in the summer now. It was going to be in March, but because of my recent injuries, they're delaying it some more. But, I also have that. I'm blind in my left eye. I have broken ribs. So over the past couple of months, life insurance is something that I've been thinking about. And then, of course, those of you that pay attention to my life that's out there on the internet knows that I have a very special someone in my life now and have been for about 15 months. And now's the time that he is, he and my mom and my daughter, the three of them are who will benefit from me getting life insurance. The thing is, as a felon who spent 7 years in federal prison, life insurance is the last thing that I'm thinking about because people with felonies and people that have been to prison can't do anything. And that's not true. My buddy Carl, who's a partner of ours with our 700 Reentry Center, told us, wait a minute, yes, there are things that can be done for people that are incarcerated as far as life insurance goes. New York Life, a great company that supports a lot of people, and we'll get into that, has a product for that. And I have Carlene, and Carlene, what's your last name?
Right.
Carlene Wright with us today. Carlene Wright's going to talk to us specifically about what is available for people that are reentering society and people that have been to prison as far as life insurance and possibly even in prison. And then my man Carl over here, also from New York Life. How you doing today, Carl?
I'm doing great.
And Carl, what else are you going to be talking about?
Well, I'll be talking about things that are not necessarily insurance related, like annuities. They're for everybody. Any kind of brokerage accounts that we can set up through New York Life also.
But can we dummy it down? Because, we're talking to people that have been to prison. And I'm not trying to discount that because I've been to prison myself. And I'm going to tell you something. This is the craziest thing about prison. There's a lot of people that don't have formal education that go to prison. And then because, either there's nothing else to do or because of First Step Act or whatever, in federal prison, they take a lot of classes. So you start hearing these words, brokerage accounts and annuities. But can you think of like a real easy way to describe first off, what's an annuity?
An annuity is basically, it's a contract. Annuities actually started back about thousands of years ago. The Roman soldiers, they had annuities. But basically, it's you contributing to your own retirement, basically, what it comes down to and everything through your employer. In the case of New York Life, the annuities that we have, they're for anybody that pretty much wants to set it up. But generally, you're setting it up for retirement. It's like you contributing to your own retirement in an annuity for a set time in the future to where you can pull that money out to support you in your retirement,
So
whatever you got going.
if I'm a person that's coming back into society and let's say I went to work at Home Depot and I ended up full time with some kind of insurance or even a 401 or anything like that. What if I was to get an annuity from New York Life and then change jobs? Am I able to carry that with me to my?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. The annuity is yours. It's just a contract. And there are different types of annuities. You have deferred annuities, and they just have like one simple interest rates. They'll go 3, 5, 7 years, and you renew them at the end of that period. And then you have variable annuities that invest in the market. Okay. And you keep those for 3, 5, 7 years, or whatever. And then you also have index annuities. Also, index and variable annuities, they're all they dabble in the market. They dabble in market forces, but just a regular deferred annuity with a set interest rate, it doesn't dabble in the market. Generally, you'll get an interest rate of about 4 or 5%. But again, it's a sort of savings account that people use to support their retirement if they want another stream of income. It's about pretty much it.
And this is something I speak about a lot. So I'm when we're talking, I don't want people to tune out thinking that this is going to be a boring episode. This is actually probably one of the most important episodes we've ever done of the Reentry Podcast, because especially when I'm talking to my federal audience, and that's the biggest part of our audience, I talk to a lot of millionaire drug dealers, and I like when you're committed to reentry, when you're committed to not going back to prison like I am and the people we associate with, then you have to get out of the drug dealer mindset. But it's okay for you to think that you were a successful entrepreneur, because you were.
Sure.
So we need, through 700 Reentry or Refi Ventures or any of these other support organizations, if you launch your own business or whatever it is, you need to be thinking about generating wealth, sustaining that wealth, and growing that wealth.
Sure.
And that's what you do with annuities and brokerage accounts.
You do exactly. And again, since they're not life insurance policies or whatever, anybody can have an annuity. Anybody can have a brokerage account. Anybody can have, like, for example, a health savings account. Anybody can have that. Anybody can have those.
The thing, though, is that, one of the things about New York Life is you're such a robust financial services company that I've always thought for many years, when I knew New York Life and Another Life, is like, why have the word life in there? Because to me, it pigeonholes you into insurance when New York Life offers all this other stuff.
Sure.
I mean, you're really like, a financial, services firm.
It is financial services. New York Life, as the name implies, they started out as a life insurance company. Right. Okay. But over time, they grew into what it is today. And right now they have about $1 trillion under management, and that's outside of their core business, which is life insurance. All right. The core flagship product is whole life insurance. Okay.
Right. Got it.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about life insurance, I want to go back to Carlene for a second. When I was in prison, and a lot of the folks that were in prison with me, that I associate with now, and a lot of the folks that work here are kind of the same mindset. There comes a point in prison where you stop being so self-centered and start thinking about the other people in your life. For me, it's my life partner, my mom, and my daughter. Pre-prison Kyle, I'm going to ride it till the wheels fall off. You got to bury me and deal with it later. We'll figure it all out. Post-prison Kyle, it's like, okay, my partner takes extremely good care of me. He's awesome. We're in this together. He stood by me through all this craziness. I want to make sure that, if he's going to hold my hand through my kidney transplant, through dialysis, through all this crazy, gross, and disgusting stuff that I have to deal with, that if something happens in surgery, if, somebody comes and beats my ass again and I die, I want my people to be taken care of. I want my legacy that we've built here with Federal Prison Tips and the Yard Content Studios to continue to run. And the only way to do that is to have an insurance policy in place. And you would, like I was saying in the beginning, Carlene, we hear no so many times coming out of prison. And I don't know if you know my story, but I applied to 367 jobs before I started my own business and didn't get anything. So I'm used to the door being slammed in my face. And so is my audience. The last thing in the world they're thinking of is life insurance. But literally, Carl sat in my office the other day when we were talking about my life insurance, saying, I need to call Carlene because she knows something about inmates and insurance. So is there an insurance product for an inmate?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you've created this space for us to really share this, because speaking of those no's, I hear it all the time. I had no idea. I'm working with a family right now. He should be released, I think, between the next 2 weeks. And she's excited because we're going to be able to give him life insurance. Life insurance is something that, Normally, you need to have your health checked, right? So there are requirements where it comes with your health. And based on your age, all of those are specifications for it. And then there's other circumstances, such as have you been incarcerated, right? And normally, some companies, it's a hard stop. No, application cannot even be admitted at that time. But I do have a company. Well, my company is called Rights Insurance. And my goal is to really help individuals find the right coverage at the right price, regardless of your pre-existing, not just health conditions, but scenarios.
Right.
And that includes the incarceration.
Incarceration, whether it's for me, I went to prison on a multi-million-dollar fraud case. So one of the things I encountered looking for jobs is if I had been a drug dealer, I could have probably gotten a lot of those jobs, got the door shut in my face. But because I had a fraud charge, and I was in a crazy position because I'm college educated and a fraudulent felon. So what was happening with me was the jobs that I was going to interview for that would take my college degree would not talk to me because of my felony. And the jobs that would take me without my college degree wouldn't talk to me because it was so beneath what I should be going for that they were just like, okay, you're just going to stay for like 2 weeks and then be gone. As far as insurance goes, I know there's so many different things. So how does it insure with your client that you're talking about now? He's going to have full insurance when he gets home?
Right. So what happens is I have two scenarios, right? For someone who's currently in jail, I can provide coverage. I know that that is not the norm. Basically, what we do, we find the life insurance plan. And when they do receive that phone call time that they can make, the family will call and conference me in. And we do it over the phone. And they have life insurance while they're still incarcerated.
So let me ask you that specifically. When you're talking about an inmate getting insurance when they're incarcerated, say you got an inmate, got him a life insurance policy. He still has 3 or 4 years to go. Gets stabbed in prison. Is the insurance company going to pay it out?
Now, when they're in prison, there are different parameters around the policy.
Okay.
So they do have a grace period. Now, if anything happens while they're incarcerated still within that grace period, the company pays a portion, plus they add 10% interest on whatever that time frame has.
Okay.
Now, when they're outside of the prison, it's a little different.
When they're outside of prison, does it basically convert to more of a traditional policy?
Similar. They have more coverage. So they have more leverage to get more of the coverage now that they're out, and they have a shorter grace period. And based on the time, so if they recently came out today, I can provide coverage with a shorter grace period. If they've been out for 2-3 years, then we don't have to worry about any type of a grace period. It's immediate coverage, which I love, because some companies would still not entertain it. Their timelines, like
Of course
been
not.
out for 10 years still. I've seen no entry for the application. And in that case,
Oh my God.
I have clients who's been out for 3 years, day one coverage. If something were to happen to them the next day, the family would receive the full amount that they intended for the family when they took out that coverage.
Wow. So let me ask you this then. A person comes out, they're getting now I don't know the right words because I only have insurance products. I'm 50. My mom actually sells insurance. She has a brokerage in Maryland, but it's a business to business. But my question is, and I think I talked to Carl about this a little bit the other day. There are different scenarios when, like, suppose I hadn't been to prison and I'm 50 and I'd have had life insurance since I was 35. There are different times in your life when you can either get a dividend or draw down or sell back or cash out or get some money for your life insurance policy. Can you do that if you're getting this policy as an incarcerated person?
So you actually can do what's called, you have a cash value in the policy. Now, it's not going to be a big policy. At this point, this policy is more so for your final expenses. So
Gotcha.
to the $1 million policies or the 500,000, which is more for income replacement, that is not going to be available, of course.
Right.
However, the smaller policies, but there is access to cash value on a whole life level, which is of smaller amounts. And for people who are, let's say, for example, you have a policy before, of course, something happened and you were incarcerated, then you still have that policy that may be able to cover for a longer time. And then you can still add a smaller whole life now that will cover for the rest of your life. So there's also ways for us to work with what you may have and what you need or what you don't have at all, and now need to put into place?
So that's a good question for some of our viewers. Again, just a hypothetical. I don't even remember what the insurance was I had before prison, but had I had a life insurance through any of your carriers prior to going to prison, and I think I was 40 when I went to prison, if somebody goes to prison, has a life insurance policy, they've paid good for 10, 15, 5 years, they're still making good payments, and their person on the street continues to pay, is the incarceration a reason that the carriers can cancel you?
Some carriers, a few carriers may have look backs when it comes to health in different scenarios. My company, there's no look back. Like, you have it, no matter what happens,
It's yours.
right? There's nothing that changes. And there's a few companies, well, who are like that. Once you have it, you have it. As long as your payments are being kept up, you're good to go. You're still protected.
I guess the last thing that I want to touch on with you, and as far as the incarcerated insurance
Mhm.
piece goes, what was I going to say? I was going to talk about, depending on what statistic you look at,
Mhm.
an incarceration can take between 10 and 20 years off somebody's life. Just because, and for me, I mean, it's definitely happened. The medical there is terrible. They always just want to find you a pill for whatever it is. And then you end up taking these pills for years and years and then find out that they're wrong. And so, I would say my prison stay, it was about 7 years, and my life expectancy probably went down 15 because of that. That's not going to affect this program that you're talking about. Just the health, the life expectancy, all that kind of stuff.
Now, health is always a consideration with life insurance.
Right.
Now, with some companies, the initial consideration of health, if you have like you've mentioned, your current situation. I have a lot of clients with heart issues, COPD, you name it, a lot of different things. Now, I still am able to find a plan for them. Of course, the healthier you are, the more coverage you can have. But if you
They're going to
are,
give me like $5.
but having a health concern, and I get it because my cousin, I was sharing just earlier, my cousin, he was in prison for like over 25 years.
Oh,
A
wow.
very long time, and so regardless, if you have now a health concern, it does not change anything with your life insurance contract as long as you have it in place. So that's.
And let me appeal to the viewers at home, if you're watching on a jack or whatever it is. One of the reasons, people might think, oh my God, why is Kyle talking to life insurance people on the Reentry Podcast? I want to talk to the people that have a loved one in federal prison and the people in federal prison that are watching this. If you're one of the lucky ones, like my mom and one of my sisters held me down the entire time that 7 years. Not 1 week went by that my mother and my sister did not put money on my books. And there's a lot of folks out there that are like that, where, you got mom, you got your girlfriend, you got your wife or your boyfriend, your husband, your son, your daughter, whoever. Somebody is holding you down in there. One of the huge benefits to the life insurance is you're going to get out there, you're going to prosper, we're going to help you, you're going to get a job, you're going to start your life over again. But it would be very nice, very good that if you pass away, you can hold down the people that held you down. And if you can't hold down those people, the product in prison is great because, I know you're not talking about $1 million, but a funeral is what, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000
Right.
that, Mom Deuce might not have right now because she's got all these other kids and grandkids. So, you don't want this. And I people don't realize this. If you don't have the money for a service, if you don't have the people and the resources in place, even in prison, if you die, there are some prisons that will literally just bury you in a field.
Wow.
I've seen it. Angola is one of them down there in Louisiana. They have a huge, barely marked graveyard with hundreds of inmates that passed away that didn't have the resources like this or the family members like this. So if if you have a loved one in federal prison and you want to get them life insurance, if something happens to them, God forbid, in prison, at least you know that you're not going to have to be burdened with the costs of the final the final services and all of those things that are just so much money. When my ex's mother died in June of 24, and we barely had enough to bury her. Had we one of us gotten insurance because he had been in prison as well, one of us got insurance like this, or she had insurance, we would have been able to do an actual service rather than this puppers thing that we did. So I want to make sure that our people know like how to get a hold of you
Yes.
because this is so important. This is so important if you have a loved one in federal prison and you've been wondering about life insurance while they're in prison and when they get home. This young lady here, Carlene, has some partners that she works with that could possibly insure your person while they're incarcerated and afterwards. So, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but it's better than nothing. And you're going to work till you find something.
Yes. And I'll just add this as well, just to what you were saying, that the life insurance is really for that person that you love,
Gotcha.
that you're leaving it for. I am licensed, and basically we can offer it in about 44 states. So all throughout the United States,
That's wonderful because we have an audience in the whole country. Do you have a website or email
Yes.
address?
So my website is my last name, insurance
Is that
group.
WRIGHT? Okay.
WRIGHT, the word insurance, and then group.net.
Insurance.group.net.
Insurancegroup.net. There's a form right there that you can just fill out quick with your name, and I'll be able to send you your scenario, let you know exactly what things would look like for you. So it's nice and simple. We have a 3-step quote process. You get your quote and you're able to see exactly how you can get covered.
Now, let's switch gears back to Carl for a second because this is a reentry podcast. So here we talk about reentry. That's the coming home part. And you got guys that are coming out of federal prison, and a lot of them were drug dealers. So we're going to try and help them start new businesses, whether it be a dry cleaners or a barber shop or a landscaping company. And some of them will go back and get new jobs and things like that. But they have to come to grips with the fact that the money's not going to come as easy as selling a kilo of coke or meth. And now you got to save.
Okay.
And saving traditionally, putting it in a piggy bank, you're not growing your money. It's just sitting there. But with annuities, with brokerage accounts, your money makes money.
Yeah.
Like while you're sleeping, like they say, or not necessarily while you're sleeping, but while you're doing other things. And we talked briefly about annuities. Brokerage accounts is investing in stocks and stuff.
Sure. Basically, that's all it is and everything. Exchange traded funds, things like that. Mutual fund accounts, basically that's what it comes down to. I would like to say on the insurance side that, as Carlene said, whole life insurance policies, they do provide cash value and it builds up over time. And you have to look at it as like a whole life policy, what the cash value that builds up. It is an asset. All right. Walt Disney, for example, he used a whole life insurance policy when he, as a collateral, when he did whatever it's Walt Disney World or whatever out there in California.
Right.
So it's an asset. So you have the added bonus of having life insurance. Then you have the other piece of it is cash value. Also, with some life insurance policies, you can get we call it living benefits. If, for example, if you were diagnosed with a critical illness that they said you would die within 2 years, you get up to 50% of the face value of the life insurance policy to cover medical expenses and everything.
Holy junk.
So if you had a $50,000 life insurance policy on a term and whole life policies through AARP, you can get up to 50% living benefit for chronic illnesses, okay? And that includes dementia or something like that, or if you cannot do 2 activities of daily living, there's 6 activities of daily living that the medical professional insurance companies, they recognize, okay? An activity of daily living would be like, you're incontinent, you just can't hold your poop, okay? Or else you can't get out of bed. That's 2 right there. Or you can't feed yourself, all right? So these policies, and again, through AARP, all they're saying is you got to be at least 50 years old. and there's no medical exams at all. And for term life, you can get up to $150,000. For whole life, you can get up to $100,000. Okay, and it's just a paper application, no underwriting, no fluids, nothing like that. They just have a couple medical questions, and you're good to go. You get the interest on your money. Plus, if New York Life, they don't guarantee dividends, but you'll get guaranteed dividends on top of that also. So you
Wow.
get regular interest and dividend interest. Okay. Now, so far as the other accounts and everything, like for example, I have a kid just got out of the Air Force. He had all his money saved up, and he's very conservative. And he said, "Hey, look, I know his mom." He said, "Look, I want to take this and do something with it." I said, "Well, his name is Alex." I said, "Well, we can do a mutual account for you, or I can set up a 401k for you, or something like that." He's like, "No, I want an annuity." I was like, "Well, you're 26 years old. You really don't need an annuity, all right?" He's, "Yeah, but I do." And he had gone online on YouTube, and he had this YouTube video, and he saw where I'm 26 and I want to retire at 65. It says I'll have this much money if I do it, and this is what I want to do. And I sat there, I looked at it, and I plugged it into our model, and I was like, you actually will get a whole lot more than that. So he's 26 years old, and he has an annuity because he's looking way down the road trying to save money, and that's the power of having an annuity, a mutual fund. There's a new thing that I think is even better than 401ks, whether it's a Roth 401k or just a standard 401k. They're called health savings accounts. Okay, health savings account is what they call triple tax efficient. Uh, the money that you invest in them, the health savings account, you can deduct it from your taxes. The money grows tax deferred in your account. Okay, and you can pull the money out for medical purposes tax free. At age 65, you can pull it out for anything you want to. It acts just like a regular IRA. And there are
If I
people
get a health savings account, can I use it for copays?
for copay. Yeah, well, anything that's medical, yeah, you can.
Okay.
You can even use it. You can even use it if you like, for example, some people they use it if they want to pay for long-term care premiums. They use it for that also. But you have to understand about a health savings account is invested in the market. You pick the account you want to invest it in and invest it in the market. Okay, and like it goes anywhere you go, it's portable. It goes with you and everything. So that's coming really portable. That's
Portable. That was the number I was looking for earlier. We were discussing
portable.
401k being portable or annuity going from place to place.
Yeah, and it's portable. And with the way things are going now with Medicaid and Medicare, we're seeing a lot of people that are investing in these health savings account, and because they're looking down the road. And again, they are more tax efficient than IRAs, 401ks, even a Roth 401k, so for taxes and everything.
So, I want to stay real quick on this theme of reentry because, again, I want to keep going back to this because I like you a lot, Carl.
Thank you. I
But
like you, Kyle.
insurance and financial stuff is boring.
Yeah,
So I need to make it go with our audience. And the reason that this is so important, is because, again, in federal prison, between your drug dealers and your scammers is a bunch of millionaires
okay.
that are used to having so much money. And now if you want to be successful after prison, you need to find your niche. You need to possibly start a new legitimate company, and you need to find ways to grow your wealth.
Sure.
And so I like that. I like the annuity. I like the brokerage account. I like the health savings. I'm going to talk to you about the health savings because,
Sure.
I'm spending hundreds of dollars a month on just copays because I have good health insurance.
Sure.
But it's 35 here, 70 here. The emergency room is 500, all that different stuff. So having a health savings would help me specifically. But these things, as boring as they are, they're very, very important because, it starts you on the ground to stability, to independence, to growing your wealth. Just in case something happened,
Right.
you're growing wealth for later on. You're also, with the insurance product, you're looking out for the people that looked out for you. I do want to talk about real quick as far as the brokerage account goes. When you get a brokerage account through New York Life, is it already like New York Life has already picked out, they have different indexes, like they have different stocks in them already. So like a You can get one of those mutual funds that has Facebook, Netflix, and all this kind of stuff. Is it all pre-packaged, or can somebody use New York Life and move things around that they want to have in their brokerage account?
Right. Yeah. The answer to your question is yes to both. On the pre-pick side of the house, we use Franklin Templeton.
Okay.
They have 5
They're great.
portfolios. They have 5 portfolios that we use. Okay. And we interview the individual that's looking to have, it could be a mutual fund account, it could be a variable annuity account, and it could be a variable life insurance account, or even the health savings account, because understand all of these are investing your money in the market. All right. And so we sit down, we have an interview, and based on the 5 portfolios that Franklin Templeton has, we determine, or the just your answer to the question determines which portfolio would be best for you and everything. You also have the option, if you don't want to do a portfolio, you can pick your own. Okay.
Gotcha.
But the best thing about this, New York Life is probably one of the most solid companies that anybody's ever going to invest in. I mean, they were like number 70, 72 on the Fortune 100. They've been around for since 1845. They're one of the best ran, best organized companies.
They are.
They're in the world. And if you're going to put your money to land someplace, you want to put it into a company like New York Life, because they're going to be around for the long haul.
I mean, my father passed away many years ago, but he always told me that there's two companies that he always trusted: New York Life,
right,
and American Express.
Okay, yeah.
And then there's other people that believe in Prudential and Berkshire too, but that's a whole different game. I wanted to again on the brokerage thing.
Sure.
I want to talk to you. I don't know if you know about these apps that are out there, because I've talked to a lot of people that have been to prison, and they're seeing these apps out here like FindLow and Acorn and all these different apps. And I watch this stuff. I see it on the TV in the prison, and I've Googled and I've learned and I've tried it, and I figured out what their trick is. The trick is with most of these apps, with Acorn and the FindLow, is you sign up and they tell you $20. You can start investing in the stock market for $20.
Right.
Until you've made 100, they're going to keep suggesting very, very, very safe stocks.
Sure.
Extremely safe. The minute you hit that 100 threshold on the FindLow app, then they start suggesting the crazy stuff that looks good. But because you've made $100 off your 20, your psyche's saying, oh, wow, I made $100 off 20. And they're saying, if I put $1,000 in here, I could make 50.
Yeah.
And you're not going to make 50. You're going to lose that whole $1,000.
Right.
So, one of the reason I bring this up, Carl, is because when you get out of prison, everybody in prison sees the same ads I see on Lifetime, on Fox, on FX. When you decide to go with New York Life for a brokerage account, you're going to end up with a safer, more proven bet and product. And also folks like Carl that can answer the phone and tell you and reassure you or help you whenever you need.
Yeah. We the great thing about New York Life, everybody says like a team, this team, that. One thing that they will do, the agents, the reason I joined New York Life, I'm a retired Marine, and my whole thing was I like the whole team organization, the whole training thing. And when I spoke to them, I said, listen, unless you're going to train me, don't even talk to me, because I'm not going to go do anything nilly-willy that I don't understand. And so they have New York Life University. And like New York Life University, it's just like, it's amazing. Plus they pay for you to take all these certifications and everything. But the thing about New York Life, they have such incredible bench strength. You don't work in a vacuum. Even though I'm putting together a portfolio for you, to get that brokerage account, to get it across the plate, to get that variable universal life account across the plate, it's going to be looked at by at least another 20, 30 people, and they're going to have their questions. Okay.
Right.
If you don't do this, you don't do that. Also, New York Life, what we do is that, we do asset rebalancing, continually looking at your account. whatever you decide your portfolio model is going to be, if this is what you want, like a 60-40 mix, 60% equity and 40% bonds or whatever, we're going to continually look at that, and we're going to make the recommendations to you for you to keep that asset allocation mix to where you're making money and not losing anything at all. So that's why they say New York Life is a company you keep. So it's not just Carl Lawson. It's not just New York Life agent here, New York Life agent there. It's New York Life Financial Services, the company that's looking down at everything that we're doing. They use a lot of AI on what they're doing. And again, they've grown the financial services branch pretty much from nothing to about $1 trillion asset under management. Companies like Fidelity that have been doing this for years also, that's all they do. They don't do life insurance. They're at about like $6-7 trillion under management. But the fact that New York Life haven't only been into this for a little while, they're at $1 trillion asset under management, and that's on the brokerage side. It's not on the life insurance side. It's pretty incredible.
That's awesome. Carl, where can people get in contact with you?
My number is 540-308-3375. I actually have a web page, but I have no clue. I'm an OG. I'm an old guy. I have no clue. But it's 540-308-3375. And my email address is clawson, that's CLAWSON 02 at FT Fox Tango New York Life .com. C Lawson 02 or 02 at ft.newyorklife.com. And I don't have any kids at home, so I'm generally available 24/7.
We will put that. I'll put Carl's information and Carlene's information in the description of the video on YouTube. You guys, this is phenomenal. I've known you now for probably about 6 months, and you've always supported what we do here at 700 Reentry. I'm glad that we could have you guys here today, because what you're talking about is something that people don't think about. You're not going to hear this at the halfway house, but yes, Carlene can help you if you want insurance for your inmate in prison and after prison. And when you're serious about growing your wealth, staying out of jail, staying out of prison, growing your wealth and sustaining your future, then Carl and the team at New York Life can most definitely help you plan so that these kinds of things don't happen again. Both of you guys, thank you so much for joining me.
Can I say one thing before I go? I really want to thank you and Eddie, because since I've come here, you guys have always treated me like family, treated me well. What you all do here is important. And since you guys had told me about the fact that you had so many recently incarcerated that were not able to get insurance, I just made it my business to keep trying to find something.
Right.
And Carlene she came to one of our BNI.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, it was a godsend. And I thank God for being able to do something. I thank God, for Carlene,
I do too, because I had no idea until you told me 2 days ago that an inmate could get insurance, Yes, an inmate can get life insurance. This is the video you need to save so that you can do that. Watch it. We'll put the contact info for Carlene and Carl. And just so you're clear, I'm Kyle. That's Carl, and that's Carlene. This was one heck of a podcast. It's the Reentry Podcast at reentrypodcast.com, YouTube, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. We'll see you next week.
Okay.